Hey, good afternoon, aspiring freight dispatchers. I got a very important video for you this evening. We're going to be speaking about doing freight dispatching the old way versus launching your freight dispatch business the new way, and that's the 2026 model. So, starting your freight dispatch business the old way will cause a lot of pain points and bottlenecks in your business. But if you do it the right way, you will be able to get leads, sales calls, driver signups, and generate revenue with flow. So we're going to get right into it and speak about how to launch your freight dispatch business the right way. Say the old way equals no low pay. The 2026 method equals a scalable, profitable business model. So the old way, the mindset was let me learn dispatching first, then I'll start a business. So what the old way was is people are really going out and just learning dispatching without actually starting a business. So what they would do is step one was form the LLC, then go get an EIN number, and then take maybe a dispatching training, then try to find a trucking company to dispatch for. And then step five, attempt to dispatch loads yourself. So what I'm seeing from that setup process there, the old way, step four, try to find a trucking company. So we're starting the business, we're getting an LLC, EIN number, taking dispatch training, and then we're not trying to find a trucking company to step four. So that's very far down the pipeline. You have to have a trucking company to dispatch for it to generate revenue. So actually, our first step should be lead generation. So the problem with this way of starting a freight dispatch business, step four and step five is going to be very difficult because we're not working on those two important steps until all the way down at the bottom of the pipeline. So, like it says, it sounds logical, but here's what actually happens. So the real problems new freight dispatchers run into. Problem one, no leverage. You are the dispatcher. If you stop working, income stops. That's building a job, not a business. So we want to build it in a way from the very beginning where we don't involve ourselves in the day-to-day activities of the business, because you're the founder of the business. You're not a dispatcher. You're not becoming a dispatcher. You are launching a successful, profitable freight dispatching business. You're the founder, not the dispatcher. So problem two, no experience. First trucking company becomes your training ground, right? We don't want to do that. Your first couple of trucking companies is your training ground. We don't want that. We don't want people to have a truck trailer, equipment, and be paying like all this overhead. And then us as a dispatcher, when we get that first owner operator, we're really just on the job training. Really, in 2026, the industry, the market, and the world is just moving way too fast for that. It's moving too fast because that's going to cause a lot of pain points with the owner operator, because the dispatcher really isn't going to have the experience to dispatch a truck. So you're learning while they expect professional results. They expect some real results. And most owner operators, what dispatchers, the typical dispatcher doesn't know. A lot of times when owner operators are looking for a dispatcher, their business is in like a very bad place. They're not going to tell that to the dispatcher, but that's the whole reason why the owner operator needs a dispatcher, because they're not generating enough revenue. And then what has been happening in the past is sometimes that owner operator, when their business is doing bad and then they find that dispatcher, the dispatcher is new. The dispatcher is basically still training with that owner operator. And what this has done in the trucking industry is break trust. This is the exact reason why so many owner operators don't trust dispatchers, because so many dispatchers have just came in the industry and said, I'll find you high paying loads, but they never dispatched a truck before. And then if they happen to find an owner operator that would let them dispatch for them, the dispatcher is actually still training. So that's a huge bottleneck, and it's causing a huge problem in the freight dispatch industry. So problem 3, constant operational stress. Yeah, load boards, broker negotiations, driver communications, paperwork, rate problems, scheduling chaos. So it's a lot of moving parts in the logistics industry. Problem 4, no differentiation. You sound like every other dispatcher. So no clear value proposition, competing on price. This is the big problem I had when I first started my freight dispatch business. This is how I basically went from making zero in income my first month and making 20,000 per month my second month. It was the pipeline. So basically all the revenue is going to come from your pipeline, and it starts with being different, standing out, being unique. And that's something a lot of people that I have mentored in the past have had a pain point with. So I know that's other dispatchers out there in the market that I haven't spoke to one-on-one. Is sometimes when we start a business, we see what everybody else is doing and we want to copy that, and it feels comfortable doing the same thing. But in most industries, most people aren't generating any revenue. In freight dispatching, most people that are marketing a freight dispatching business don't have any drivers, because like I said, they're just coming in and they're just trying to find drivers and dispatch someone. So they don't have any drivers. They're looking. Most people are looking for drivers. Most dispatch companies aren't actively dispatching drivers. Most are looking for drivers. So the problem with that, since most are just looking for drivers and really haven't signed up any drivers, and that's the majority of the market. And then when new people come in, they see what they believe is the market and they copy that and do the same thing. And then it's just a big cycle of people with no drivers and just advertising, a big cycle. And me, I've been doing this, training people 10 years. And that's what I've been seeing the entire time, just a big cycle of people copying what they see in the market, thinking that's the thing to do. But you have to have the UVP, unique value proposition. Like I said, my first month, I didn't make any revenue. I was about ready to give up until I start implementing some unique value propositions. Actually, really what turned my dispatch company around, when I started thinking like a business owner and stopped thinking like a dispatcher. Exactly what I'm saying in this video. When I changed my mindset around from just thinking, oh, I'm going to start a dispatch business, I need a dispatch agreement or a load board access. But see, that is misalignment, because before what I was doing is like what most people do when they start one of these businesses. You think about the load boards and negotiating with brokers and all those things, but that's misalignment because we don't put enough energy on attracting drivers, building a pipeline. So basically what my freight dispatch business taught me is any business is just building a pipeline system into that business, just a system that consistently attracts customers, and then you work with those customers on the back end in the operations department, right? And then from there, dispatching is all about attracting more leads, getting more people in the pipeline. And then as you get more people in the pipeline, more drivers to sign up with you, some of those drivers stick with you longer over time. So as you sign up more people, you're going to have drivers to stick with you longer over time. So I'm saying a money model. This is just think in the form of a money model, because the founder of the business is going to have to see the money model and execute on that money model to make that system work. That's like what you think about as the owner of a freight dispatch business, and you outsource people to think about the dispatching part, because thinking about all that is like too much. It's misalignment. It's too much to think about. And then especially if you don't have the experience as a dispatcher. So problem 5, income ceiling, limited by time, limited by skill, limited by number of trucks you personally manage. So that's if you're trying to do all the work. So if you're trying to just hop in here and then learn all the dispatching part yourself, and then learn all the marketing and sales, and then just like me, when I first came in, I'm thinking just the dispatching was the most important part to learn because it was my first business and I was thinking like an employee and not thinking like a business owner. Really, that's the huge pain point in freight dispatching. We don't have to worry about the load boards, a dispatch agreement, or any of that. The huge pain point is people shifting their mindset to thinking they're just going to be a dispatcher to thinking they're going to own a successful freight dispatch business. Changing their mindset from an employee mindset to a founder mindset. That's the difference between like tens and tens of $1,000s per month of revenue. Because when you think like a founder, you're thinking about building a system that automatically attracts leads and signs up drivers, and you build out that entire system. So most people are thinking about being a dispatcher when building a company is building a system that runs for itself. And then when you first start the business or the system, when you first begin that system, you may be working in that system harder and longer in the beginning than you are on down the line, right? So building a business is about starting that system and then working yourself out of that system over time. And you really have to see that system working before you start. That's another pain point I see with so many people because they're just thinking about the dispatching part. And some people may not understand when I say you really have to have the entire business built out in your mind before you start, because what's the objective? Where are you hitting? Where you hit it towards, right? So you have to think about something like, okay, I want to be able to dispatch 6 trucks within the first 6 months of my dispatching company or something like that. So you have to have a goal, right? And then what you want to do is see how many leads, sales calls, and driver signups you can execute on, and you can sign up during those 6 months. So that's another thing. You actually have to have a goal and picture how you want to have your company built out. If you want to have 6 trucks working for you and 1 dispatcher or 2 dispatchers within a certain amount of time, and then you need to have a plan like, well, how am I going to get to that goal? The whole problem with any business these days is people are thinking more with the employee mindset than an actual business owner mindset. So the thing is, like, and you may have heard me speak about the new economy, the decentralized economy. We'll get back to the slides here in a second. But the decentralized economy, we're moving into a new economy, and the economy is decentralized, not centralized. In a centralized economy, corporations and major trucking companies and other companies had a lot of control. We had to apply for jobs and basically request to give our value to someone else, and for them to pay us a certain amount of money for the value that we're bringing to them. You know, that even to think about it in 2026 and beyond, I don't really believe that's a good model, because we're actually giving our own value to somebody else and they are approving us to work for them. So, but in the decentralized economy, it's much different. In a decentralized economy, we generate revenue off the cell phone. So you don't have to actually wait on anybody. And that's another thing about the decentralized economy. We actually have to execute and do the work, right? It's like nothing holding us back. It's just up to us having the value and putting it out through our cell phone in whatever business that we're in. So we actually have to start it. And if we don't do something, nothing at all is going to happen. But the more value we put into here, we're going to attract more leads, sales calls, driver signups, and revenue. So like I said, my first month, I could write out a whole entire list of my mindset the first month when I was struggling, like most people do. I wasn't signing up any drivers. I wasn't making any revenue. I had one mindset that month and then a different mindset the second month when I hit that $20,000 goal. And that second month, I believe I really, instead of just thinking like a dispatcher, I really started to see that whole system, as in I'm marketing my business through the cell phone, and people are getting interested by me marketing the business and giving out value. And then people from there want to get on sales calls with me and sign up. So once I kind of start thinking that way, and I seen, well, it's just all up to me to give out value to attract leads, and you never know how much money you can make, you know. Then it's just the money's just waiting on you to actually do something. And that's going to be how the new economy, because jobs, they're starting to hire, have more AI and technology and not hire as many people. But that actually creates more opportunity for us to use our cell phone and then connect with people through social media and whatever you're selling and make money that way. And that's the economy we're moving into. So freight dispatching is the perfect business for the decentralized economy. Actually, what you're going to start seeing in freight dispatching is some of the biggest and largest freight dispatching companies being built out. And that's with all companies, because we're going to have the power is on our hands through the cell phones, right? So this is actually why I started my freight dispatcher boot camp, or my revenue launch system. I basically aligned that system or my program with the new economy, and basically to see if it works. And we are having, basically with that boot camp, I've had more success in that program within the last year. People with 12 dispatching 12 trucks, 2 dispatchers working for them. I have people that are able to still work their full-time job and run their freight dispatch business because they have dispatchers working for them. I also have people that have left their full-time job and have dispatchers working for them. And in that program, no one dispatches themselves, because the whole objective in the new economy, any business that you run, that you launch, the whole objective is to get your business to a point where you just market the business with your cell phone, and then you have a support team behind you. And that's actually the right way to start in 2026. The right way to start any business in 2026 is to have a very high UVP, be able to give out that unique value proposition through your cell phone, and then attract so many leads from the very beginning of your business that you can outsource the day-to-day work, and then you just concentrate on attracting more leads. So this is going to allow people like me to come into business and build out a huge corporate level business in no time. And then the purpose of that program is for me to use my 10 years of experience and then implement that into freight dispatching owners' businesses from day one of their business. And basically, I'm building out corporate level businesses from day one. So the right way to start any business in 2026, you have to start it on a corporate level. The business idea most people have in their minds in 2026, especially if they're new to business, I already kind of know like how most people are going to vision a business in their minds if they're just starting one, and that what they're visioning in their minds won't work. It won't work. And that can be the hard part about business, because you really don't know if what you're thinking about will work or not. But basically, it has to be built out to a corporate level from the very beginning. So, but this is a good thing because the business is going to be stable from the very beginning, because you're going to focus on leads and building out that system. So this is how people, average people in the new economy, whatever they're selling, they're going to build out bigger businesses than some of the corporations that we see out there already, because they're going to use the power of social media and the internet. And once people start thinking more in pipeline systems, that's when they're going to bring in more leads and demand into their businesses more than ever. Really, with the economy, the only thing we're waiting on now with the economy, and this is part of my purpose while I'm pushing, it is demand. The new business owners aren't really thinking of like how to generate demand. They're thinking about the employee part, the day-to-day activities. But if you just think about the day-to-day activities, that won't generate any revenue. But building out a pipeline system is what's really going to build out the revenue, right? So we could be talking about anything. We could be talking about personal trainers, people, real estate agents, any of these people. When someone's thinking about starting a personal training business, they're more so probably thinking about just the personal training aspect of it, not how do I generate demand. When someone goes to real estate school, they're probably just thinking about being a realtor, not how do I generate automatic lead generation system that always brings me in people who are looking to sell homes. They're not thinking about that part. When I train and mentor dispatchers, so many dispatchers are thinking about, well, how do I get load board access? Do I need an LLC EIN number? That's okay to think about, but that has to be quick. We got to get over that like 2 seconds, and we're on to like, how do I generate demand? Basically, any business that you start, you should never start a business without having like a clear picture in your mind of how I'm going to generate demand. So basically what happened is we kind of got off like real business, and what spoken about most of the time is not even business, right? Because business is about building a pipeline and increasing it at all times. If I'm mentoring a real estate agent, I'm going to be mentoring that real estate agent to increase their pipeline. If I'm mentoring someone starting a freight dispatch business, I'm teaching how to increase the pipeline. Personal training business, how to increase the pipeline. If someone has a painting business, same thing, increasing the pipeline. So we got to get business back to where we're teaching and implementing how to increase the pipeline, because any business is just a pipeline system, right? And then you should work really hard on, if this is your first business, you should work really hard on establishing that pipeline and learning for yourself to build a pipeline in a business, because once you learn how to do it one time, you can take that same mindset to the next business and to the next business, right? And that's really why once you learn how to build a successful pipeline in one business, you can be successful in any other business, because the whole reason people aren't successful in their business is because the pipeline, right? It's the pipeline issue. A trucking business, a freight dispatch business, it's all the same. When someone describes a problem they're having in their business, they're describing like a issue, a bottleneck in the pipeline that needs to be relieved, right? And freight dispatch business, it's been really fun for me, and it's been enjoyable, because to figure it out for yourself, how to increase that pipeline, and then of course, like once you figure out how to increase your pipeline, that's more money you're going to be making. So I will say in business, it's amazing to be able to figure out your own pipeline issues and to work through them, and to know for yourself, and then to be able to teach other people. If I wouldn't have went through the pipeline issues I went through, I wouldn't be able to teach other people anything. It's just because I went through all of these issues before, and I've also helped so many other people through these issues. So it's like I've started hundreds and hundreds of freight dispatch businesses over the years, and I've seen pain points. I've seen some people make it a certain amount of time and then fail, so I've seen everything. And basically, even if people start to fail, I can see it way before it happens. I can catch it way early. And this is just because of helping so many people build their businesses. I've just done it so many times, so I can basically tell you exactly what will work and what won't work for sure, like guaranteed. Because it's like second nature to me. We're going to keep moving forward with the slides. So I want to point this out too. Skill. See, a lot of people think starting a business is about like paperwork or software programs, but remember, starting a business is about skill, increasing your skills, increasing your communication skills, your sales skills, your marketing skills, right? So how do I get load board access? How do I get a dispatch agreement? That's not going to translate into revenue, right? Those are the wrong questions. I can tell you just by certain questions people ask, I can tell if they're going to make any revenue or not, because I can tell where their mindset is at. And it takes the right mindset to generate revenue. So even as I'm mentoring people, the only thing I'm doing is changing people's mindsets and getting their mindset to align with wealth. Because once their mindset aligns with wealth, then they're going to make wealth. So basically, if you're coming in and dispatching, just thinking about the load board and negotiating with brokers, if you're thinking about the end of the pipeline, that means the mindset is not aligned with wealth, because you need to be thinking about, how do I generate demand? How do I get some customers? Why even start any business at all if we don't know how to get customers? What that's going to manifest into is huge pipeline bottleneck issues down the road. It's going to manifest into struggle because we need to know how to get customers before we start the business. Seeing a great opportunity to get customers used to be the entire reason of starting a business. It's not just starting a business to start a business, or starting a business just because, oh, I want to be a dispatcher, or, oh, I heard it was a good idea. No, like a real hustler starts a business because, oh, I see a way to make money in that business. Oh, I see an idea. I see something other people aren't doing. I think I can have a business better than anything on the market. So, and I feel it within me, and I see the money. So I'm going to go and execute on what needs to be done, not just because you want to start a business, right? But we need the skills, certain skills we need to build a business, not just software programs, not just dispatch agreements, right? Now, let me show you the model serious founders are using today. So the right way to start a freight dispatch business, the mindset, I am building a business system, not performing a job, right? So we need to be thinking in systems with any business in a new economy, any business. That's what it's going to be about, thinking in systems. A business owner has to think in systems. I see so many people coming into this industry for years and years. I've seen it. People just thinking they need a certain AI program, or what's the best load board to use. But we need to be saying, how do I think in systems to make my business idea work? So I think that the way of thinking needs to rise up to a corporate level thinking, and then we'll start building out more corporate level businesses. And as I said before, if we try to build out something less than a corporate level business in 2026, it won't work, because you won't be offering enough value. It's like dispatchers that's just trying to say they have high paying loads and make a quick flyer and think they're going to sign up a driver. That's not near corporate level, and that's why drivers will continue to look over them, and that's what new business owners have to understand. So basically, your business is going to probably have to have so much more value in it than you normally see out there in the market, because as I said earlier in this video, most people in any market don't have any customers. Most people in freight dispatching never sign up one single driver. So what happens is people come in and they see how other people are marketing their business, and they market the same way. But see, that marketing is too low value. That marketing is not corporate level marketing, and it won't work. Because one thing in a business like freight dispatching, you're basically a consultant to the owner operator. So the owner operator has to know, like, and trust you. By the owner operator seeing you one time, by your lead seeing you once, or seeing a flyer, it's not like they're going to be ready to sign up with you just automatically, right? You got to realize, especially with a freight dispatching business is a done with you implementation program. Just like my freight dispatcher boot camp, call it the freight dispatcher boot camp or the revenue launch system. That's an implementation program where I'm working directly with you to help you implement your freight dispatching business. It's not just training where you're just watching videos of me and then going out and doing it on your own. The thing is, your freight dispatch business, this is something people don't understand. Your freight dispatch business is the exact same. You're not selling training to your owner operators. You're selling a done with you implementation program. So it's a very, very great business, and it's in the trucking industry, logistics. It's recession proof. These are all the things that made me want to get into it. And then once I seen you could build a pipeline system into the business, that's when I took off. So the thing is that I'm even realizing now, I was on the whole decentralized economy. Everything that's really taking place now, I was on 10 years ago. I started doing 10 years ago, because that's when I really realized just getting higher value. So what you need to do, a business like freight dispatching isn't hard to be successful in, but the thing is, it takes building a system. Most people aren't going to build a system, then they're going to say it doesn't work. But if you build the correct system, you never know where it could take you. To generate $1 million in any business, including freight dispatching, you have to have $1 million, excuse me, $1 million system, right? But I don't believe most people would come into the business and think about, well, how do I build out $1 million system? If I was starting this out today, especially with ChatGPT, and I didn't even have ChatGPT when I first started. If I would have had ChatGPT when I first started, I'd be a lot even further than now. But what I would do if I was just starting right now, I would use ChatGPT and ask, how could I build out $1 million system, $1 million pipeline system into my freight dispatch business? It's too easy, because the only thing you have to do is start there, ask ChatGPT that question, and just keep going further with it. Start executing what it is. What most people don't realize, and especially going into 2026 and the new economy, you have to take action in your business, and that's actually going to make certain things happen, right? I think it's because so many of us, just like myself, went to school and then got out of school and maybe had a job. I joined the military, but basically I hadn't thought for myself until I started a freight dispatch business. So what most people don't realize too, most of us don't think for ourselves until we try to start our first business. And what a lot of us don't think about is when we take action, it's the law. We actually make things happen. I'm not saying like maybe something's going to happen. When we take certain actions, certain results manifest. So, and that's what business is about too. And business is about the founder of the business being able to see what actions you took, and then what results you got. And then you learn that for yourself, and you start seeing it for yourself. And then you take higher actions and you get higher results. And this is how you start making money for yourself. And then being able to do it with your own mind. And that's like the most important thing in your business too, because your mind has to keep taking your business further and further, right? So when your business is really in alignment, you should already know what's going to happen in your business before it happens, because you should start off with the business plan and having milestones along the way, and having those big business goals. But if you have those big business goals, it's not like they're just going to happen out of nowhere. You're going to work yourself up to those big business goals, and you should see yourself working up to that point. So really, for a business to survive, you're going to have it all figured out in the mind first, and you're going to have to see yourself at the end. And then you see yourself hitting those different steps, right? So that's what started happening in my freight dispatch business. Before I started, like I said, I was an employee. I just done what I was told. So I never seen things like that going on for myself. But it has to be happening in your business for the business to survive. Because think about it, if you can go to the end and like see yourself really big and where you want to be, and then if you can see yourself working up to that level, that is the success of your business, right? That's what's actually creating the momentum and the movement in your business. So if you don't really have this mindset, it's not going to be any momentum or movement in your business, because it's not going to be really going anywhere. So just as saying, it's very important to be able to see yourself hitting those different milestones in your business. And then for your owner operators, so if you have an owner operator, he or she is just driving their own truck and they want to work themselves out of that truck and hire a driver to drive that truck, and then to be able to scale to multiple different trucks, you as a dispatcher, you have to have the information and the knowledge to make all that happen. And then you have to give the advice. See, to retain a customer, you need to know how to get them to where they want to be. And then they need to see themselves hitting those milestones. And then once they're working with you and they see themselves hitting those milestones, that's when they're going to be like want to stick with you, and you're going to retain them. Yeah. So let's get back to the slides. Step one. So this is step one in starting a freight dispatch business the right way. And if you listen to my story, like, the truth is in the story. So me, like I said, I struggled the first month. The second month, I made $20,000. But what did I do? I came up with a UVP my second month. First month, I was a new business owner like everybody else. I was thinking about DAT load board. I wasn't thinking about a unique value proposition, right? But to be the founder of a company, to launch, to even get the company off the ground, it's going to need a UVP, especially in 2026. Back when 10 years ago, when I started my company, I needed a UVP. My company wasn't going anywhere until I had a UVP. And the thing about 2026 in any business, the whole entire program, your whole entire implementation program needs to be scattered with UVPs, not one UVP. You need to have multiple UVPs. So basically saying your program needs to be so different from the market to stand out. That's one thing most new business owners won't understand either. And like I always state, when I speak, I'm just speaking business. It's not necessarily just freight dispatch. And I'm speaking about any business because this is the part we have to actually learn to launch the freight dispatch business. I can tell you, if you're trying to start a freight dispatch business and you're having any pain points, it's not anything specifically with trucking, logistics, or freight dispatching. It's the business owner. It's the mindset, right? Just like it was my mindset. So the problem is thinking like the founder of a business. Because most new business owners would never think about needing a UVP. So if you're not using ChatGPT, I would definitely be using ChatGPT. You can screenshot these slides and put them into ChatGPT to help you come up with UVPs. Like I said, I did not have ChatGPT when I first started, so I wouldn't have been able to screenshot a slide and put it in there. But you can get really far like this. So that's going to be another thing that's difficult for new business owners to understand, not just in freight dispatching, but in any market, is that your whole entire implementation program needs to be a UVP. It needs to be totally different from the market. In my freight dispatcher bootcamp, I'll think of some UVPs that we offer our owner operators. For one, the members of my freight dispatcher bootcamp get on weekly Zoom calls with all their owner operators and discuss their week as a group, as a community. That's the same thing I do within my program. Mention something that's going to be also very important, and most people won't know this also. In any implementation program, mine, when I'm teaching people to start freight dispatch businesses, or here pretty soon, I know this is the future of freight dispatching. So what I have to do is, the people that I mentor, I have to already know where the industry is going, already know the future, and basically teach them the future. I can't teach them the current state of things. I have to teach them the future so their business will rise up to that level and it be in alignment, right? So one thing most people won't even know these days, I'll say, even to be believable for myself, right? Years ago, maybe I was just selling pre-recorded training videos, right? But these days, even to be believable, I have to have all my customers in a group, and for what I say to really be going on in my implementation program in that group. So to be believable, you're going to have to get your customers together as in a group, and that success is going to have to be proven. So, people will know you're not just saying something, right? For your freight dispatching company, you're going to have to eventually, freight dispatchers are going to have to eventually get owner operators on Zoom calls and get all the owner operators together and speak about their week. That's what we're already doing in the bootcamp program. And I'll just say that's just society, period, right? That's just where we get into. Like years and years ago, you could just put a flyer out there and people would sign up for your business, sign up for your freight dispatch business. But as time went on, as consciousness expanded, as social media came, especially for a business like freight dispatching, your owner operators want to know, like, and trust you before they even sign up for your implementation program. So nowadays, you have to be on video, right? Because they're not even going to trust you if you're not on video. If you're not eventually getting your owner operators all on a Zoom meeting, they're not going to trust you, right? That's just the state of the existence that we're at. And a lot of people wouldn't even know that, but that's where we're at. So it's going to be so many little things like that that most people wouldn't know, but that's just the idea. That's a UVP, unique value proposition, to offer more value to the owner operators. Because what happens, so basically to get in alignment, for me to help freight dispatchers these days, right? It would be too hard for me to even train or help people if I'm helping people just only one-on-one, right? I need people in as a group. So people that I have in a group that are making passive income, they got 10, 12, 15 trucks, right? So all those people are in a group together. So as new people come in, they hear what I'm telling them to do, and they automatically see others like right there that they can directly network that have already done it, and and they've already manifested the results. So years to come, like I said, my mentees are already on it, but in years to come, that's what freight dispatching is going to be, where you have to have all your owner operators together. Already have owner operators that you have helped get their second, third, fourth truck, that you have already helped scale their business, and you have them in your group. And as new ones are coming in, they can learn even from your other owner operators. In my freight dispatcher bootcamp, I'm not the only one that can train, that can teach other people. The people that are already dispatching trucks passively, they can teach other people too. And then just to be honest, it would take too much energy for me. If I had to work with everyone one-on-one like that, it'd take too much energy for me. And this way is much more efficient. And the thing about it, your freight dispatch business is this exact same thing. Your freight dispatch business is a done with you implementation program. So you're going to have to start getting your owner operators on Zoom calls. So that's just the UVP. That's one unique value proposition. Another unique value proposition, an important thing for me to mention, that from the very first day, I never was a freight dispatcher. I was always like a logistics consultant. You know, I had people in the trucking industry before I started, and just hearing about their trucking business and the pain points they were going through and speaking with them every day, it gave me the bright idea. It was like, I wonder, could I just dispatch for owner operators? I wonder, could I like not go out and buy the truck, trailer, and equipment if I could just have the knowledge, because I'm learning how to run a successful trucking business from the people that I know in the industry that have launched their business or that have had one run in a few years, right? So I'm speaking with them every day. So that just gave me the idea about starting my own freight dispatch business, but I was never really like just a freight dispatcher, because I was like helping owner operators out with any and everything they needed in their trucking business. So I know just being a freight dispatcher, that won't work. You have to be a logistic consultant, because what will happen is, if you think you're just going to be a freight dispatcher, you're going to open your business, and if you do happen to sign up a driver or even get on a sales call with a driver, the drivers have so many pain points or problems within their business. They're going to be asking you about insurance, about IFTA, about the IFTA sticker, about how much they can scale, about what securement equipment they need. They're going to be asking you about everything. If they don't know it, they're going to be asking you as the dispatcher. But really, just as a dispatcher, that's not really your responsibilities. You know, like all the other things that the owner operators could ask you about, not your responsibility as a dispatcher. But then if you want to make some money, if you want to sign up some drivers, you learn it all. So that's what I did. I'm like, they're asking me about all these other things that, you know, really don't have nothing to do with me just as a dispatcher. But, you know, hey, I wanted to get off my full-time job. I wanted to make more money. I wanted to be able to control my money. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to offer everything possible I can to the owner operator so I can get more leads in the pipeline, right? Because if I didn't do that, that would decrease lead flow. I would misalign my business from the goal, right? So that's what happens. people misalign. You know, might have a goal to make revenue, and this is all I help people with, right? Because what people coming in to freight dispatching, their goal is to generate revenue. But the thing is, the thoughts that they're thinking in their mind and then the actions that they're doing is misaligning their business with revenue. It's the exact same thing with owner operators. I promise I would have never been as good of a dispatch trainer or a mentor if I didn't start with the owner operators. Because to me, it's like the same business I'm teaching. It's the same thing. So even being able to scale owner operators businesses, get them, have them generate more revenue, because I start thinking in pipeline systems by reaching out to more brokers, putting more brokers on my list of brokers who pay well, and then growing that list and being able to utilize that list with more owner operators, right? So it's all pipeline systems. So basically the owner operators, it's the same thing with an owner operator. This will be one of the most important things you do as a dispatcher, and that is aligning your customer's mind. Because the owner operators, they'll have all these ideas, about how much money they want to make. Oh, I want to make $5,000 per week, or I want to make $10,000 per week. And what happens, see, the owner operators and dispatchers have the exact same pain points when starting their businesses, right? So the owner operators' pain points that they have when they start a business, when they launch their trucking business, is this. It's that they've been driving 10 years. Oh, I've been driving 20 years. You know what I'm saying? I know everything there is to know about this. So the owner operators, their mindset is they're going to buy their truck trailer equipment, get their insurance, get their authority, and then just come into trucking making all this money because they've been driving so long, thinking with the employee mindset, but they're not thinking like a founder, right? So what happens with owner operators is the exact same thing that happens with dispatchers. Owner operators think about like truck, trailer, and equipment. Dispatchers think about like load board access, how to negotiate with brokers. So they think about everything on the back end, but they don't think about how do I generate demand. So what happens with dispatchers, they think about everything else. They put the cart before the horse, and then when they actually start the business, there's no demand and nothing actually happens. Same with owner operators. They get the truck, trailer, and equipment. They spend all the money on overhead. They start the business, and then they get load board access, and then they wait for loads. They sit multiple days because they're not thinking about how do I get demand, right? So that mindset causes a pipeline issue. Dispatchers, this is the number one issue dispatchers have. If you're starting a freight dispatching business, you might as well only think about this number one issue, and that's the pipeline. That's getting customers, right? So the thing is, most people would think that you need to do everything else first, or figure everything else out first before you figure out how to get customers. But the thing is, once you figure out how to get customers, you're going to figure out everything else, right? If customers are DMing you or sending you emails or giving you a phone call, if people are reaching out to you to do business with you, you're going to figure out the back end part, and I get it because I've had two different mindsets. I had the mindset that most people, that like 90% of people have when they come into this business, because I was once one of those 90% of people. But I had to have pain points. I had to struggle. I had to stress. I had to almost give up. I had to think I was going to have to stay at my full-time job. I had to think about that I was going to never be able to start a business. And then once all that pressure came on me and just added up, I knew I had to do something different. I knew I had to fix the bottleneck in my business, and I fixed the bottleneck, and that relieved the pipeline, more pipeline flow. So the number one issue that everybody would have, that I already know because I helped so many people start these businesses, the number one issue people will have is they'll think like an employee. They'll only think about becoming a dispatcher, and they won't think about launching a profitable, scalable dispatching business, because it takes two different mindsets, and it comes with two different, actions, taking two different sets of actions. So it's a book that I read. It's going to be very good. I would suggest it to anybody. It's the E Myth. It's a great book about, the employee mindset versus the founder mindset. And even my success from dispatching, like I said, that first month of me trying to start this business, I was only thinking about the load boards. And I created a bottleneck because I wasn't thinking about how to get drivers, right? So of course, if I'm not thinking anything about that, and then I didn't have any recruiting skills, I had never sold anybody. That's a huge issue right there too. That's what people have issues with: selling people and getting people into the pipeline, getting them wanting to do business with you. Just all the normal business stuff, right? It's not the load boards, it's just the normal business stuff, because that comes before the load boards. Because if we don't know the basics of business, then you can have every load. You can have the best load board you want, right? You can have you can know how to negotiate with brokers. You can have a dispatcher. You can have the perfect dispatch agreement. But if you don't get the front part right, then the back end isn't going to go right. So basically, once you get the pipeline going, in any business is about getting the pipeline going first. Because if you don't got the pipeline going, then nothing else means anything, because that's misalignment, right? Yeah, so that's misalignment. So mainly people are misaligning their businesses. And then I say in the new economy, what it takes is like people like me that been through it and seen it happen so many times, is to go back and teach new people from the very beginning. This is what I'm really giving, like, the exact training of how to make it in a new economy right now, because it takes people like me going back and teaching new people exactly everything that I'm teaching now, and you implementing this into your business in the very beginning. And that's going to allow your business to scale, you know, bigger and better and faster than anything in the past, once the mindset is aligned with pipeline systems. That's the only thing missing now, not only in freight dispatching, any other business, because we got the internet, we have social media, right? We just need the mindset to align, and people are going to start shooting off. What's going to happen once more people start aligning their mindset, different results are going to happen. Other people are going to see them, and just like what always happens, then people catch on. People catch on. Like if you get on this now, you're what's called an early adapter. Every business has early adapters. Freight dispatching is in a transition phase right now. The old way doesn't work, but what happens is most people are going to be on the old way because that's mostly what's out there. That's a tricky thing too, but what's mostly out there, that's dead. It doesn't work anymore. It's done for. It's a new way, but people have to like be able to get that new way to execute on it. So you're early adapter. And the early adapters are the ones that get the furthest. The ones that's going to be making like hundreds of thousands of dollars per year in their corporate level freight dispatching business, because they align their mindset with pipeline systems, the power of the internet, and the power of social media. They are going to be the ones making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in any business here in the next couple of years, because that is the new economy, and it's just waiting for you to step into it, right? Like when I stepped into it, from making 1 month, I'm thinking about giving up, right? Staying on my full-time job, from doing that 1 month, not making any money, to making $20,000 the second month. Why? Because I started working on the pipeline and attracting leads. The first month I expected, like most people, I expected to sign up some drivers and generate revenue without anybody knowing me, thinking I'm just going to get an LLC, EIN number, freight dispatch agreement, and I got a business, so people are just going to rush to do money with me. No, that's not how it works. You have to generate demand. You generate demand first, and the rest will flow naturally. But if you work on everything, if you put the cart before the horse, that's misalignment, and you're not going to have any flow. It's not going to allow leads to flow down the pipeline. But what you need to do in a business is you need to think, okay, how can if I'm a freight dispatch, if I own a freight dispatch business, if I'm a personal trainer, if I'm a real estate agent, plenty more things. The first thing I'm going to work on is how can I get some leads? How can I get people interested in my brand, right? Before I think about anything else, how do I get some leads, right? Because leads is the first steps. First step. Sales calls is the second step, right? So for if you're a real estate agent, personal trainer, whatever you are, that's probably going to look like advertising your business on social media, and then to get the person to go from a lead to getting them on a sales call, that's probably going to take them getting in your DMs, them sending you a DM message about getting on a sales call with you, right? If you're a realtor, if you're a freight dispatcher, it doesn't matter. It's like, so basically you got to think of the pipeline system in your particular business, right? And as I said earlier, once you learn how to do this in one business, you can take it to any other business, right? And for me as a trainer or mentor, just like I do, I shouldn't really ever be teaching anything other than mainly a pipeline system, because that's what's going to make or break my customers. That's what's going to change your life. It's not the dispatch agreement or the LLC, because people, what happens is people get LLCs and then never generate any money. But what's going to change your life is implementing a pipeline system into any business, into whatever you're selling. And if you don't do that, nothing else is going to change. So you got to get leads first, then you got to get sales calls. So to get leads to sales calls, I would think you got to get viewers to DM messages, right? Think pipelines, think systems. How do you pull people down through the pipeline? So you got to get viewers to DM messages, and then you got to get DM messages to sales calls. And then once you get them on a sales call, you got to get sales calls to signups, right? If you're a real estate agent, you would become their realtor. They would sign up with you. If you're a freight dispatcher, they sign up with your freight dispatching company. So to me, in a lot of businesses, that front end part is going to be the same, right? To advertise your business online and to get people wanting to DM you. See, what happens is pipeline issues, right? Some people can advertise their business, but maybe they don't get enough interest for drivers to want to get in the DM, right? And then, so if you're advertising, you're getting views, maybe you're getting likes, maybe you're getting a comment, but you're not getting any DM messages, right? Because you can't just go from views to people paying you money. They gotta hit certain steps. As I said earlier, milestones. So you need to be thinking about this when you start your business. How do I get people from one step to the next step to the next step to that final step where you get the physical cash, right? But it takes certain steps, hitting certain marks before you get them there. So if you're getting views and maybe likes, but you're not getting any DMs, you need to think about, well, how do I get some potential drivers to DM me, right? And then you need to do marketing that causes drivers to DM you. And this is what happened with me. This is how I went from $0 to $20,000, because once I started doing this, and then I started doing more and more marketing that causes drivers to DM me over time. See, that's momentum. The momentum just adds up. And what you need to understand, you can do this at any time. Nothing in the world is holding you back, but you actually starting to build a pipeline system. So it's not like the market or the economy. None of that matters, because how you market your business is going to bring in the leads, and the leads pay you money. And as you bring in more leads, more of those drivers are going to stick with you longer over time and pay you more money. The freight dispatch business is a very great money model. I just look at it like a money model. So for me, once I start seeing that money model, I said, I want to do that. And then I want to hire dispatchers to work for me. Then I'm kind of hands off, and the money model is running for itself. I'm marketing my company, causing drivers to DM me, to email me. And then on the back end, I hired dispatchers to do the work. And this is how you run a passive income business. When I was just still on my full-time job and I started to get this in my mindset, I'm like, it's just go time, right? And that's how it is. And in the new economy, it's go time. Like every second, it's go time. People aren't going to understand this in the new economy too. It's not time to do anything slow. It's not time to keep thinking about it, because the new economy starts when you start. Everything that comes to you in the new economy happens when you do something, right? So like people that slow to start, people who aren't self-starters, that's going to be the problem in the new economy. It's not going to be like, oh, no jobs are hiring, because we're going to make our money through our cell phone. The problem is going to be people thinking that it's not money to be made in a certain industry just because they haven't got off their ass, pretty much, just because they haven't executed. So this new economy is going to be an economy for people who are willing to execute. Just like freight dispatching now, if people aren't willing to execute, they will not make it. Like, this is like really for those go-getters. People probably really don't understand that too. You got to be a go-getter in this industry. It's not for people that sit back. It's for people like this trying to make it happen like now, and they're going directly and straight to the point. And that's how you got to be in a new economy. That going left, going right, saying you want to do something, but it take forever to get started. That's not going to work in the new economy because nobody is coming to save us. We actually have to save ourselves. I had somebody join my program the other day, and that's what she said. She said she realized, hey, I got to save myself. And I was thinking, that's what I realized when I started this business. Like, nobody is going to push me. Nobody's going to say anything to me. This is all on me. And once I fully betted on myself and went all in on my business, that's what brung in enough leads during the second month to make 20,000. So that's the leads is what's going to control your income, your revenue. Then we need to ask ourselves, what am I doing to generate leads? I got to where I'm going. I got to where I'm at in business just by asking myself questions. Like, what am I doing to generate leads? What did I do today to sign up my first driver? Or what did I do today to sign up more drivers, right? Not about what's going on the outside. That's going to be another hard thing about the new economy. I can tell with how society is, and this is just me from mentoring people over the course of 10 years. Maybe if it's people that I didn't mentor, but I'm just on a sales call with them, I can tell so many people just think about the outside world. Now, like, what are you doing? What did you do to better yourself? What are you doing to increase your skills? Did you make some goals today? Did you complete all your goals that you made for yourself? Like, we're going to have to get back there too, because this is what a lot of stuff I'll be hearing from people. Oh, that's not going to work. It's going to make it very hard to be successful in a new economy. So we'll finally get back to the slides. So I was at have a UVP. So you need to have something that's unique about your business, any business that you start. If you don't have something that's unique about your business and that you really feel and you believe, that's another thing. Let me stop sharing the slides for this. You have to believe in your product and your service, right? If you don't believe in it, it's going to come out like through your social media marketing, through whatever. Like, so people are going, and that's what happens in freight dispatching. People come in and they're just trying to make some quick money. They really don't believe in their business. And then they start marketing the business, and owner operators are able to tell that the person doesn't really believe in their business. Basically, by you thinking about your business, like people say, that is the wealth. The wealth is within you. The UVP, the unique value proposition, is the wealth. Remember, a business is about an idea. You have a higher level idea. You have a higher level of consciousness to bring to the market. That's the only reason I made it, because I had a higher level of consciousness to bring to freight dispatching, right? That's another thing. People, especially new people coming into business these days, sometimes think it's about the market, or the industry. Can I make money now in freight dispatching? Can I make money now in this business? Or is it a good time? When is a good time to start a freight dispatch business? The best time to start any business is when you have the right state of consciousness. When you have an idea within consciousness that's better than anything in the market, that's the exact time to start, right? That is the truth. So what I teach, I don't teach opinions. I don't give you my opinions. I give you truth. I give you principle. That's the best time to start any business, when you believe you have an idea that would generate revenue in that particular business. And that's what would actually make you money. But if you don't believe you have an idea to generate revenue, we shouldn't be starting that business, because your business operates off your belief to attract revenue, because you believe your program, it works for your customers. And then when you market your business, you give off that frequency. And then another thing to add, people always ask, how can I find a driver? You don't find a driver. You don't find a customer. You attract a customer when you make an energetic match with that customer, especially online on social media. When you and your customer, when you have matching frequencies, that's when that person, because they believe in you. Now think about it. If someone comes across your marketing online and then they believe in you, that means that they match your frequency, so they believe in you, they trust you. That's when they want to sign up with you, not when you find them somewhere like at a truck stop. You can attract a customer at a truck stop, but you have to, speak to them, come off a certain way. And when they feel like it's an energetic match, when they believe in you, that's when they sign up with you, right? So it's going to take who we are, the people we are, sign up drivers. So who we are as people is what is going to sign up your drivers. So you want to find out the specific problems they had. Why should they choose you over other people in the market? What results do you help them achieve? I will work with ChatGPT and to help you figure out some of these things. So even me, when I first came into business, this is some of the things I would think about, like, what results do you help them achieve? Even saying this in your marketing, I help you achieve these results. I'm thinking about, even right now, I'm thinking about the freight dispatching market. I don't know if any freight dispatchers are out there saying what results they help owner operators achieve. And then in your marketing, you should be speaking about ideas that's in alignment with those results. So that's why dispatchers that just say they have the highest paying loads, they don't sound believable, right? But you have to be speaking about a certain goal, and then your marketing has to be in alignment. Basically, you have to give how to get people successful. I'll say in my freight dispatcher bootcamp, in my revenue launch system. And this is how I teach the people in that revenue launch system. I'll tell them a lot of times, hey, we have the exact same business. What I'm doing is how you become successful in your business, right? So just like for my freight dispatcher bootcamp, what I would do here, even in my brand awareness stage, give you ideas, speak to you about corporate level dispatching businesses, and then give you the ideas for free of how, and I give them all out, as many as possible. I'll say anything. It doesn't matter, right? And that's the same thing you need to do as a dispatcher. Give out everything, right? Because even in 2026, it's not about charging for the training, right? It's not about charging for knowledge. It's about giving that out for free and charging for the implementation, right? Your dispatching business is an implementation program, right? So if you give out ideas for free, and that's actually going to attract the most amount of customers to you because you're giving out the most information for free, right? This is the law of attraction, because the more information you give out for free, it's the more signups and revenue you are going to attract in your implementation program. Same for me, same for you. It's the exact same business, right? And then the same for me, I talk to you about corporate level freight dispatch businesses. And then I give you the mindset. I speak the mindset. I give you the words. I tell you the steps for you to get there. And then a certain amount of percentage of people will go out and try to do it on their own. And then a certain amount of people will sign up with me and they will take off very quickly. Same exact thing as a freight dispatching business. So the same exact marketing I use now is the same exact marketing I used as a freight dispatcher, right? So, but the thing is, it even helps to manifest the goal, right? So for me, if I give out ideas for free, so people are listening to me, and then certain people really get it in their mindset, they're picking up what I'm putting down, before they pay me any money. So what that does, that aligns that person. So when they do join my implementation program, we can get to the goal. We can get to the money like really quickly because they're already aligned with the program before they join. The same exact thing with the freight dispatching business. You want to market and align your customers with your program. Most people aren't going to be doing this, right? Most people, even in their marketing, it's just, I find you the highest paying lows. It's just putting out random things, right? But even when you can align people's mindset, you're like more believable, because you got the full story. You know, like me, leads, sales calls, driver, signups, and revenue. And the reason I'm able to even say that too, because I've had times in my freight dispatch business that I've almost failed, right? And then what I realized is like, oh, if I can get an increasing amount of leads, sales calls, driver signups, and of course revenue, then that's how I can lift my business up. So basically, when my freight dispatch business was failing, what I had to do is I had to stop thinking about everything. Hey, if it doesn't get me more leads right now, I am not thinking about it, right? It's no use of thinking about it. And then as I started to only think about like activities, as I only thought about lead generating activities, that sending my energy there was able to generate me more leads. And that's how I saved my business, right? So honestly, I went through struggle. Like even after getting customers, I have went through struggle of almost failing. So so the reason why I preach lead, sales calls, driver signups, and revenue so much is because I started to make $20,000 per month, and then I came up on times that I almost failed and lost it all, right? So no matter what, I'm going to talk to people about that more than anything, because I know that that's the only thing that will save your freight dispatch business. That's how I saved my freight dispatch business, by putting my energy on more demand, right? By only thinking about generating more demand, more leads. And by generating those leads, they naturally manifested into more customers, right? No amount of worrying about that in the world could have ever saved me. The only thing that saved my business is by me putting my energy on leads. So we'll get back over to the slides. So have a UVP, have a unique value proposition. In 2026, your entire company has to be a UVP. Just UVPs everywhere. Like not one UVP. Everything that you're doing has to be different. And that's just business, period, right? When we shop somewhere, we like shopping somewhere different and buying things from, places that have a UVP, right? Why do certain businesses stand out to us? Because they have a UVP. This is something you might have to do too when you build your business. This is something I started to do. Look at different businesses and look for UVPs, and that will strengthen up your mind to think of UVPs for your own business. So this is how you learn to generate money for yourself, right? And not need anybody else. You got to strengthen up your own mind, and then you have to do things to strengthen up your mind and keep doing them over time. Of course, I'm still doing it now. That's how my business is getting further and further. This is how I'm rising up corporate level freight dispatching businesses. It was a time where people used to ask me, hey, can I dispatch and still have a full-time job? As time went on, I believe that became more difficult, because just like right now, a lot of brokers don't let authorities, with new authorities, haul loads for them. You have to have 6 months or a year time on your authority before certain brokers will let you haul loads for them. So as a dispatcher, that affects you, right? That makes your job more tedious, because sometimes you have to look for loads longer for more drivers. That has taken place more since I first started 10 years ago, right? So people ask me, can I dispatch and still work my full-time job? So I'll be honest, as time has went on, I think dispatching has become more tedious and longer hours. And yes, that could still be possible. But what I start thinking about is I got to come up with a solution for that. So in my program, I no longer teach for people to come into my program and dispatch themselves, because that's not aligned with the new economy. So I hire and train dispatchers. I already have a full team of dispatchers. And when people join my program, those are the dispatchers that you use. So you are just a founder of the business and not a dispatcher. And that's the way you're supposed to start a business, right? So basically my implementation program is aligned with the right way. My implementation program is the right way. And what the right way is, when we say what is the right way to start a business, what that means is the righteous way. It's the most righteous way to start a business in this day and age. What that means is basically the most efficient way to start a business and generate the most amount of revenue. Because think about it, what do we want to do when we start a business? We want to start it as efficiently as possible and generate the most amount of revenue from the very beginning. That's where a lot of people mess up too, because like I'm telling you, just like myself, when I started this business, it was my first business and I was just thinking about becoming a dispatcher, LLC, dispatch agreement. But this is business. When you start a business, the objective is to make the most amount of money quickly as possible and get straight to it. Like this is business, and get straight to it and work as fast as possible. Like work your ass off. Like that's how it's supposed to go, because what you want to do is generate the most leads and signups as possible from the very beginning to give your business that working capital, and so you can see some results. And us that are hustlers, us that have made this happen before, we know what happens when you start making money for yourself and you see the money coming in. It increases your energy to do more work. So that's why this is real business. Like you literally want to try to make the most amount of money possible as soon as you launch. And that's the launch of the business. That's the initial energy or cash flow coming into business. Just like myself, making that $20,000 my second month. Like what if I would have took like a year longer or 6 months, right? I wouldn't be where I am today. But that initial energy coming in by me really thinking about leads, sales calls, driver signups, that second month, that is really what took me to where I am now. Everything, wherever my business ever gets to, it would be due to what I did that second month, because my business is still living off of that energy. And most people don't give their business that amount of energy from the beginning, so they don't scale. And then if they're not scaling, the business is basically dying. Another thing, new business owners would think, oh, I can just come in and get 3 or 4 drivers, or I don't need that much. I don't want to make that much amount of money. That mindset doesn't make it. That mindset doesn't build a business, right? That it won't build a business. So because you need a pipeline system, you need an unlimited amount of customers. Any business that has been around 2, 5, 10 years, they have an unlimited amount of customers. They have a pipeline always coming in. So to start a business, you need a pipeline of customers, and you need that working capital. You need that money coming in, pretty much right from the beginning, because basically if the money doesn't come in right from the beginning, the energy, us as naturally as humans, of course, we're going to not work on a business as hard because maybe we don't think it's working, right? In my boot camp, in my revenue launch system, my goal is to try to get people making money as fast as humanly possible, because you want to see that the system is working and you can just reinvest, keep reinvesting time and energy into your business when you see it's working. So that's step 1, develop a UVP. Step 2, build marketing that attracts drivers. You want content, messaging, authority positioning, demand, what we got here, positioning, or demand generation. So that's one of the most important things in your business, demand generation. Most people start businesses, get the LLC and everything else, but they never generate demand. Instead of chasing trucking companies, they come to you. You're going to have a system where trucking companies come to you, because you spend too much energy if you always have to go out and find and chase drivers. So, and that system is going to start with the UVP. The UVP is the magnet of your business. The UVP is what attracts drivers to be dispatched. So no UVP, no business. So you're going to build marketing that attracts drivers. Step 3, you're going to become an expert salesperson, right? Becoming an expert salesperson is one of the biggest priorities in your freight dispatching business, because that's what's going to sign up drivers. So your main job becomes conversations, relationship building, enrollment, growth strategy, right? You think about it, you're going to do the marketing. This is the new economy. You're going to do the marketing from your cell phone. When you get on a conversation with a driver, you're going to do that from your cell phone. Everything you're going to do from your cell phone, and it starts by doing the righteous things from your cell phone in the beginning, meaning the marketing. Like if you try to learn, even if you're on your cell phone learning dispatching, you're misaligning your business because you're just learning the dispatching part, right? So you need to be on your cell phone learning the marketing part to align your business with the goal of generating revenue. The goal is not just to have an LLC and not ever to make any money or not ever to sign up a driver. So we have to align the business. See, I can already tell, even in the future, people would make more money and businesses would get easier as we keep thinking about aligning businesses more, right? Because in the past, it's just been about software programs and different subscription programs, getting those when you start your business. But in the past, I don't think it's really been about aligning your business, getting your business in alignment. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what you really want to do. You don't just want an LLC or a dispatch agreement. You want your business to be in alignment with the goal of generating revenue. What has happened is, since the advent of social media, the internet, and you have so many different people coming online talking about what we think is business, is really not business. And that's the whole problem. And it's misaligning people's minds with revenue. So people are hearing what they think is business being spoken about, and they aren't getting the right mindset. It's all about alignment. What we should want is alignment. Even to manifest that, I would just say to yourself, alignment. Think alignment. Start saying that more to yourself throughout the day, and you're going to naturally attract more alignment into your business. But if you're not even thinking about alignment, then it probably won't be in any alignment, because that's not the focus. What we focus on manifests. So if we come into this business only focusing on the dispatching part, we're not going to manifest a scalable business because the business isn't in alignment. Step 4, run a phone-based business, no office required, location freedom, scalable systems, communication driven. You operate from anywhere. Sounds good to me. Step 5, hire experienced dispatchers. So really what you want to do is, as you get your customer or your driver pipeline started, you want to have a pipeline of dispatchers. You want to be advertising that you're hiring dispatchers for your services, and get those dispatchers on interviews. So for me, if I'm starting a freight dispatch business right now, I'm not imagining myself just doing all the dispatching. That's where people misalign themselves. And a lot of times we don't know, as new business owners, the way we are imagining ourselves, because that's what creates ourselves and what creates the business. The way we're imagining ourselves running the business is what is causing the misalignment. The world is not doing nothing to us, or the market, or the trucking industry, or the war in Iran, or none of this stuff. And then when wars start happening and different stuff, people start asking, how will this affect my business? Well, your main focus should always be lead generation, because it's going to be stuff always happening, right? When I first started my business, did I think one day we're going to go through coronavirus? Did I ever think about that? No. Did we go through it, and am I fine now, or my business fine now? Yes. Has there been other things that came up? Yes. Now is the Iran war going on? Yes. So saying there was always going to be something. On top of that, did I have family issues? Did I have personal issues? Did I have death in the family? Yes, 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 and yes. But as long as I kept my focus on lead generation, I've been okay, right? All that to say is, sometimes what I see, a lot of this is coming from what I see with new business owners, that I've been mentoring over the last 10 years. That's mainly what I'm fixing, is the mindset. And a lot of what I'm saying is trying to align. If you're an aspiring freight dispatcher, I'm attempting to align your mindset now and let you know what won't work for sure. And I can let you know what will work for sure, because I have an aligned program. My freight dispatcher bootcamp is a program that's in alignment, and basically whatever I say in that program works. And people get results. They get proven results. So we want to go off of what's proven to work. We want to go off of law. We want to go off of principle, right? That's where business has changed to. It's changed to opinions. It needs to get back to law, to principle. You know, if you continue to generate a higher amount of leads, you will automatically get more sales calls, driver signups, and revenue. That's law. That's principle. So then your most important goal is to think about, well, how do I get more leads? How do I get more people interested in my brand? You know, your job is to go to ChatGPT and ask, what's your, give me your 5 best ideas to generate leads in my freight dispatching business, and then don't do like most people. Don't stop there. Keep going. Actually execute on those leads, and then you might get a lead. You might happen to get on the sales call. You don't know until you do it. So step 5, hire experienced dispatchers. I'll tell you something about this too. We got to think outside the box. What most people would not know in this industry, if you go out and look for dispatchers, if you hire dispatchers, let's say you're coming in new and you don't want to do it all yourself, learn all the dispatching part, learn all the marketing and sales part. If you don't want to dispatch drivers with no experience, I would suggest hiring a dispatcher. This is the way that will work in 2026, because trying to do all the work yourself is misalignment. And what a lot of people probably don't know is there are dispatchers that you can hire out there that's looking for dispatching jobs that have already worked for some of the biggest trucking companies, that have already worked for some of the biggest brokerage companies. Here's another something else about the new economy. In the new economy, what you do, instead of you doing all the work, you hire people that have actually worked for mega trucking companies, have worked for major corporations. You hire those people, and now you're bringing all that value into your small business, and you're bringing all that value to your owner operator, but you're brand new. See, that's thinking outside the box. You're brand new, but you got a dispatcher that has worked for brokerage companies before. They're used to negotiating against owner operators or with dispatchers, but you hire them to work for your dispatching company, right? Yep. And everything I say, I'm only speaking from my own implementation program. I'm only speaking from things that I've already done, right? So as I give suggestions, they're not just suggestions or opinions. I've already done them. So once I start doing them, that lets me know that there's dispatchers out there that work for brokerage companies that you could have working for your dispatching company as a brand new dispatching company. I believe that company would scale much faster than a dispatcher trying to do it all themselves, right? You got a dispatcher with experience. You got a dispatcher that worked for other brokerage companies. Dispatchers that work for me. I have dispatchers that work for me within my boot camp, and these are the dispatchers that dispatch my mentees, right? It can get kind of confusing because when I say dispatchers, you may think about people that I'm training to be dispatchers, but people that I train to start to launch freight dispatching businesses, they have their own dispatchers, and I hire and train those dispatchers, right? And the people that's in my program, they are my LBOs, logistics business operators. So those are the LBOs. When you join my program, you become one of my LBOs. So some of the dispatchers that I hire and train to work for my LBOs, some of those dispatchers have already been owner operators, right? So my point is, you can come into the industry brand new and get dispatchers that have plenty of experience, that work for brokerage companies, or maybe that have been owner operators themselves, or maybe that are married to an owner operator and they've been in the trucking industry years and years and years. So that's the right way to do it in 2026. I hope you can tell like the value you can get from that over starting brand new, trying to do all the dispatching and the marketing and sales yourself. And the world just moves too fast these days. That's too much, and it causes stagnation. It causes misalignment, and not even to speak about like learning social media ads, learning how to market your business online, learning like certain metrics when it comes to social media ads. Because another thing is, any business that you start in 2026, you will eventually have to start running social media ads, unless if you don't, it'll take too much energy away from the owner in marketing the business. You want to start reinvesting money into social media ads to push your brand out further, increasing your pipeline, causing you to get more leads. What did I say? Leads. Excuse me. Leads. I've said it too many times. Let me get a drink of water. Like I said, I'm never going to stop saying it. Leads, sales calls, driver signups, and revenue. So the ads, just like when I first started running my business, that was one of the big things that helped my business to take off, is by running social media ads. Because in running social media ads, that helped me to get more drivers, more leads in the pipeline, get on more sales calls, and get more drivers signed up. And then once you start running ads, this is why every business will have to start running ads. That's when when the leads become stable, right? Because the ads are going to be constantly being shown to a constant amount of people, whether you're making new videos or not, because you're spending money on ads. So they're going to constantly go out to new people, and that's going to constantly bring more leads into your pipeline, right? Without you having to do any extra work. So you're going to have to sign up some drivers, with organic content, and then reinvest money into social media ads. That's what I did in the beginning. And that allowed more drivers to come into my pipeline, allowing me to hire more dispatchers. Like, you got to have this system running. It's just not like you start a business with a freight dispatch agreement and that's it. You got to have a whole entire system running. And how I really got my system running, I started running ads, signing those drivers up. That allowed me to hire more dispatchers. That allowed the dispatchers to make more phone calls and reach outs to brokers, right? That allowed us to grow our connections, our network with brokers, especially brokers that paid well. From there, I had, at the time, probably like an Excel sheet that I would put all the brokers' contact information on, their name, phone number, email address, what regions they had loads in, if they paid well. So every time we booked a load for a broker that paid well, I put their contact information on that Excel spreadsheet. This is really what a dispatch business is. If you don't have what I'm saying right now, you don't have a dispatch business, right? So I put their information on that Excel spreadsheet. And as I got more drivers in the pipeline and we dispatched more drivers, that gave me more brokers' information to put on that Excel spreadsheet. And as that Excel spreadsheet grew with more brokers' information that paid us good rates, as I got more owner operators in the pipeline, that allowed me to utilize that growing broker list more. So really, a freight dispatch business operates off the law of attraction. So to really grow one of these businesses, and what I just explained is how to generate $1 million in a freight dispatch business, because you got to have that entire system running. Because as you sign up more drivers, you're going to network with more brokers, and that's going to grow your connection list, right? That broker list. And then the new owner operators coming into the industry, they don't have any connections. But as you keep building out your freight dispatch business more, that connection list grows. So naturally, you're going to be able to generate more revenue over time. That's the most important thing in a freight dispatch business, right? A lot of times when I'm making recorded videos or even on live videos, I don't think about some of the things that I could say, right? But that's honestly how you generate $1 million. If you follow what I just said, over time, you would generate $1 million in freight dispatching, because that's the law. That's principle. It has no other choice but to work. It'll work for everybody, anybody. So for business, let's get back to real business. You want to execute on tasks in business that will work for anybody, no matter what. What I just said, as you work on it, that's going to work for anybody, no matter what. Anybody that continues to focus on how can I sign up more drivers, and what type of person. So I would ask myself, what type of person do I need to become to be able to sign up drivers? So we don't need to ask how to find drivers. That is so low value. We got to stop it, right? Because that question doesn't generate any money, right? So we need to ask, who do I need to become to be able to sign up drivers? And then you become that person. You do whatever you got to do to become that person. And then you build out that pipeline system that I just explained. So that pipeline system is going to allow you to hire a consistent, like hire more dispatchers over time, right? Basically, that's my boot camp program. So me thinking like that in the beginning was the start, right? And I'm just now even realizing it right now. That was the start of the exact revenue launch system that I have now. Because as you attract more drivers, it allows you to hire more dispatchers. That's the whole corporate level business, right? So that's what I mean. If we're not building it out like this, it's not going to survive over time, right? If you're not building it out using the law of attraction, it's not going to survive, right? Let's get back to real businesses. The businesses that don't survive are the businesses that's not utilizing the law of attraction, because the law of attraction is the only thing that keeps your business alive, because the law of attraction actually is what scales business. It's the law scaling the business, right? It's getting more a continuing amount of interest in your business, and that's what helps scale. That example I gave, as you sign up drivers, you're going to reach out to more brokers. You're going to have more brokers on the list. But check out the compounding effects. By you having more brokers on the list, that's going to give you like more opportunities to use with future truck drivers and in your marketing, right? So basically, see, that's how you can get your business to scale, to generate more revenue over time. So if you don't start with an idea in the very beginning that allows you to scale your business over time, like the idea I just gave, how can the business make it? I'm saying the business will not make it, because that is a system, that is structure. Most people are just trying to get an LLC or dispatch agreement. Most people aren't setting up a structure like that. So you have to know social media ads also, right? So it's so much to learn, especially in 2026. And in this day and age, you attract. So you're really not finding drivers. So basically, you're giving out, this is 2026. We're not finding, we're giving out high value information, and we're attracting drivers. Drivers, see, drivers are finding us. The real question is not how to find drivers. The right question, the righteous question. See, we really need to get this right. Start asking the right question. See, how do I find drivers? That would never lead to the right answer, right? Anyway, but what would lead to the right answer is, how do I get drivers to find me? See, that's the right question to ask in 2026. See, that's going to take you to the revenue. How do I get drivers to find me? That's the righteous question to ask, right? So I would not ever ask, how do I find drivers? Because that's going to misalign you with the objective. How do I get drivers to find me? And then once you find that out, you will build a pipeline. Because see, that question leads to building out a pipeline. That question leads to building out an automatic system where drivers are consistently finding you. And what that leads to is consistent revenue in the bank account, right? If you don't build out a system from the very beginning that allows drivers to consistently find you, you won't have consistent revenue in the bank account, because the business will be misaligned. We can do this really right from the very beginning, right? That's the problem, right? People, we come into businesses and we misalign the business so much from the very beginning. After weeks or months of misalignment, the business is like somewhere we don't even want it to be. It's so much stress and pressure on the business owner because all the misalignment from the beginning. So what we're getting back to, and I totally love it. I love it. It's exciting to me. We're getting back to where people like me start with people in the very beginning, and we make sure it's aligned. You know what I'm saying? And I'm realizing this from my Freight Dispatcher Bootcamp or Revenue Launch System, that this allows us to scale out businesses further than ever before by people that, like me, that already been through all the pain points and already seen people misalign their business. where I work with people from the very beginning, not just to train, not just to give them a recorded training video, but I work with them like daily to keep the business in alignment. Before I started the program, how I was taught to do it is basically like we're bowling, right? And you have the guardrails when you bowl, right? And I'm doing this every day with the people I'm mentoring. They're bowling, basically launching their business. And as I see them doing things that may misalign their business, so they start to go left or right. As I see the misalignment, I'll pull out those guardrails and I hit that bowling ball back over. So we hit that center pin. You know, that center pin is the revenue, right? So people can misalign their business with that center pin by the thoughts and the actions that they're taking. But we want to stay exactly on that center pin. And this is what it's going to take for trucking too. It's going to take owner operators that have already scaled successful trucking businesses and to have multiple trucks to come back and start helping out brand new people and take all that 20 years of experience and everything they went through and all the times that they almost failed and immediately start helping new people out to get their business in alignment. What's happening now all across the board, trucking, logistics, if you're an owner operator or dispatcher or any business, misalignment. There's too much misalignment out there. And that's why people are coming across the pain points they are in their business. Got said here. No, Cedric said you want to learn dispatching for 30 days and then hire 3 to 5 dispatchers and focus on business development and setting up departments. So basically, I would focus on the business development and the departments first. You focusing, learning dispatching is misalignment. And then I tell you, I'll be honest, dispatching is so complicated these days. Like learning really won't do. You actually got to have the experience, right? You got to have the experience, right? And I'm just saying that myself. To be honest, it's not like I can teach somebody dispatching, but the thing is, so many pain points would come across during the time that it'll misalign the business so much if you're not working with me like daily, right? Really saying logistics is very complex, right? Learning really, I say just learning really won't do it these days unless you're learning by sitting on a Zoom with somebody that's actually doing it. I say how I train dispatchers. Okay, we can put it like this. All right, how do I train dispatchers in my own company, right? How I train dispatchers in my own company is by them sitting down with a dispatcher I already have working within my company, an expert dispatcher who's already dispatching trucks. The dispatchers that I train, they sit on a Zoom call with the other dispatchers while they're dispatching. And I usually have them do this for like three weeks or 4 weeks. Excuse me, every day. Every day they're sitting on a Zoom call. So they're learning in real time. And that's the thing is, I honestly don't believe somebody can really learn anymore from a pre-recorded training video, right? Because I believe the world is moving too fast. That's why I don't do that anymore, right? So the things that I say is not just to say, it's because I'm not doing it or it's because I'm actually doing it, right? Because it's proven. I say what's proven. I only say what's proven. So I think for someone to actually learn dispatching these days, they would need to be with someone who is already an expert dispatcher and to sit with that person over a Zoom call while they're dispatching, not just for one day, but maybe for like 2 or like at least 3 weeks, right? The reason why too, because different things are going to come up each day and each week. And that person that's learning needs to be there as those different things are manifesting, right? So I believe that's, like I said, that's how I train. That's how I train my own dispatchers. But I believe, so that being said, and the industry is so complex now, logistics is so complex for new people coming in, I believe it would be better for them to hire a dispatcher to work for your company, right? Somebody that already went through all these different experiences, hire one of them to work for your company, and then you just do the marketing and sales, And this is the real way a business is supposed to be built, right? We were never supposed to be building businesses where we come in and we do all the work. That's misalignment. And that's why so many people are struggling in their businesses now, right? Because I know how it is. Normally, a person may not come into business thinking, okay, well, I'm going to hire somebody to do the job for me, and then I'm going to market and sell the business, right? But that's what business was before so much of social media got involved, right? But that's what's misaligning businesses now. Give a quick example. It's like I can't paint at all, right? But like if I want to start a painting business, I'm just going to go out and find an expert painter. They're probably out there everywhere, right? Someone that has painted for years. I'm gonna, wait on me to learn painting. Oh no, that is misalignment. That's misalignment for sure. To wait on me to learn how to paint? It'd be faster if I just go and find a painter and then I market. And I'm better at marketing. I can get out there tomorrow and market and sell a painting business. No problem, right? But that'll be faster for me to do that than to learn how to paint. Because it's not only learning, it's like you got to develop the skill. I think that's an important thing to know too. Because we say learning, but it's much more than learning. We're developing the skill of a successful dispatcher. I would have to develop the skill of a successful painter. And I know for sure if I want to do it the right way, if I want to start a painting business the right way in 2026, it'd be better for me to hire a painter, because I know there's plenty of them out there, just like there's plenty of expert dispatchers out there. It'd be better for me to do that and then just worry more about the marketing and selling of the product, of the service, right? Same exact thing. I believe it's the same exact thing for most aspiring freight dispatchers. Go out and hire someone that's already an expert in doing this, and then you just worry about the marketing and selling of the service. I get this all the time. I see Cedric say he wants to find dispatchers. Finding carriers is really easy. And like I said, I'm a business person, and I'm all about results. That's what I'm saying, all about results. So even if I was mentoring a person, or if I'm on a call with somebody and they say finding carriers is really easy, I would say, how many do you have? And this is business. So I say it's not about finding carriers is really easy. Like, do you have them right now? What revenue are you getting with them right now, right? And I just say for myself as a business, I don't care about stuff until I have actually manifested it, until I actually have the results, right? And that's just another thing we'll have to go to in business. And Cedric, I know you may have some carriers, and if you do, because I would say if it's really easy, if it's so easy, then you should have a pipeline of carriers, to really tell the truth. So do you have a pipeline of carriers? That would be my next question, right? That'd be my next question. Do you have a pipeline of drivers reaching out to you every day? And how big is your operation right now? And how many dispatchers? But hold on. I'm seeing some misalignment, because you say you want to find dispatchers, but finding carriers is really easy. So what I'm thinking, I see some misalignment, because what I'm thinking of is in any business, if finding the customers is so easy, you're going to find the workers, right? You're going to find the workers. If you got plenty of customers coming in the door, and if getting the customers is easy, it seems like you would have the workers. Because the only thing I teach in my freight dispatcher bootcamp, or the revenue launch system, I teach to get demand first, and then the workers you get second. That's my whole principle. Is I believe anybody that builds the pipeline, then that's basically what I'm teaching, to build the pipeline first, get demand first, and then handle everything else on the back end. So I say, Cedric, how many carriers do you have right now? How many you dispatching right now? If you could drop that in the chat. How big is your operation? Yeah, and then just say not to put Cedric on the spot. But unless you got the carriers, I'm just saying this is business. I wouldn't be saying it's really easy unless you have actually got the results, right? Like me, if I say something's easy, it's because helping people to launch freight dispatching businesses is easy if they follow the righteous ideas that I give them. And I'm saying it's easy because I have the proven results. So basically, I don't know if something's easy unless I've done it time and time and over again. And that's when I'm going to say it's easy. So, and that's why I go back. See, this is alignment. If finding carriers is easy, you would have a pipeline. I'm not saying you don't have a pipeline, but that's what gives you the pipeline, because you have the carriers. Yeah, so answer this question. Do I offer some type of support for beginners in this game? I feel like I need help building a platform. Yes, you guys can go to the website, Dispatcher. I drop it here in the chat, dispatcherbootcamp.com. That is my website. You go there, that's my Dispatcher implementation program. So what I have a full support team working for me of about 15 individuals, and to do video editing, graphic design. They can cold call the FMCSA list, a directory of new owner operators, so they can cold call on behalf of your company, right? Like I said, the new economy, again, see, so even for a person to come in and learn cold calling, so you're gonna, like, if a person was to learn everything it is about cold calling to build the confidence for cold calling, that's misalignment. In the new economy, you start your business with cold callers, right? So that's another unique value proposition within my program, right? So basically you get all this. I offer all this support, not just for me. That's the point I wanted to make. It's not just for me. I have a full team. My business is basically able to even run without me, right? Soon as you join my program, you get access to my group project manager. That's another UVP. I can name them all day long, because in 2026, I believe you need to have a project manager when launching a business. So in my program, you get access to a project manager, right? The project manager is going to get your electronic freight dispatch agreement done, your landing page, like website, all that stuff. You're not going to have to do any of that, because that's misalignment, because it's putting too much on the founder for 2026. So basically what I did with my program, I'm alleviating a lot of the heavy lifting, because I know that's what causes the misalignment. And that's why so many people don't get their businesses started, because so many different things on them. And the right way to start a business in 2026 is with a team. Even with owner operators, the right way for them to start a business is with a team, not trying to do everything alone. They need a dispatcher. They need a logistics consultant that's able to help them out in their dispatch, in their trucking business. So yes, I do offer support. Actually, when you join my Freight Dispatcher Bootcamp, you get 20 hours with my team of support. That's another UVP. You get 20 hours of my team that's going to be doing work for you, like cold calling potential owner operators, getting them on booked sales calls with you. So you don't even have to do any of the cold calling. I'll drop that link in the chat here in a second, but you can go to that website, apply for the program at any time. So I just dropped the link in the chat. It's dispatcherbootcamp.com. Cedric says I could also hire trainers, and that's all they would do is train new dispatchers. So I'm just kind of giving, even if I was accepting someone into like my program, the mentorship I'm giving them, Cedric, I'm just replying to you like, you're in my mentorship program. So basically, even Cedric, now, I know the first time you said finding carriers is easy, right? So you said finding carriers is easy. And now you're saying I could. So So basically what I'm hearing, what I'm reading through your words, you're saying a lot of things that you haven't done yet. It's like a lot of I could, or finding dispatch or finding carriers is easy, but maybe you don't have the carriers. So really what I'm saying, everything you're saying as a business person, you need to manifest that. You know what I mean? It don't need to be like I could also hire trainers. It's I am. Oh, I'm great. I'm glad you commented this, right? Because another thing I teach within my bootcamp program, I am, right? Our I am actually creates. The only thing that creates is I am. So in my bootcamp program, to get people to generate revenue, I just start having them say I am more, right? Because it's about our frequency. And this is one of the biggest things I teach in the bootcamp too, because our frequency gets us to where we're going, right? So we want to use certain words to get us on the frequency. We really want to get on the frequency of the business that we want to have. So I'm just saying for you, Cedric, I know you said yes. You're saying you could also hire trainers, and that's all they would do is train new dispatchers. Yeah. Like I got, trainers in my program, training other dispatchers, right? Like that, right? But I have a pipeline. So I say, Cedric, where's your pipeline? Where's your pipeline? Because yes, you could do all of this. Anybody could do all of this, but you would need to have a pipeline. Like I've explained here on the live, you need to have a pipeline of drivers coming in. You need to have a pipeline of dispatchers coming in, right? And that's the part that's difficult, right? So I got you, Cedric, but I got you. But I know you said you could also hire dispatchers, but it's just about actually doing it, actually making it happen. Because we don't know until we make it happen, until we do it, until we do it. I just say Cedric, and I know you said you could, and I know the last time I spoke to you, we spoke. What was it? Last time I haven't forgot. I haven't forgot. You probably think I speak to so many people that I forget, but I know we spoke probably about 4 or 5 months ago. About 4 or 5 months ago, probably. So I'm really thinking about you're saying you could, you could. I'm thinking I talked to you 4 months ago. What we got shaking? What momentum do we have in the business now? All right, all right. I'll probably get back over to these slides. I kind of drifted off from them. So higher experienced dispatchers, you do not learn dispatching to perform it. You hire professionals who already know how they handle it. Yeah, so if I did learn dispatching, like it says, I wouldn't learn it to perform it. I would just learn it to have a good understanding of it so I can, know a little bit about what I'm talking about. And then as time moves forward, I go through more situations, I work with my dispatcher more, I'm going to learn more about dispatching. Really, what I would do, because I've done stuff like this before, I would just find a dispatcher that I got some, good vibes with, that they understand that I'm new, that I'm launching this business. They understand that I'm doing the marketing and sales. They understand that, and they're willing to have my back and kind of tell me things because they know I'm new. I would find someone like that, right? Yeah. And it's easy for me. I take experiences I've been through in life before. Something like that would be easy for me to do, because and I say easy. I can say easy because I've done this. This is what I have now. I've hired dispatchers myself, but coming in new, it would be easy to do because back I was in the Navy and the Army, right? And when I got out the Navy, I was able to keep like my pay grade. So I basically came into the Army as a sergeant, and that's what I had to do there because my privates knew more about the Army than I did. I was like fresh in the Army, but I was already a sergeant because I had been in the Navy, and they allowed me to keep my same pay grade. So I was around a lot of people, and I was leading people that knew more than me. But that's what leadership is. That's what starting a business is, I believe. You're going to have some people that may know more than you, but you develop the leadership skills. The leader doesn't know all the day-to-day work all the time, right? I don't believe that's the way it works. I believe the leader, the founder, knows that those founder level activities, the marketing, the sales, how do I increase demand? How do I grow an unlimited pipeline of customers, right? Main important thing to understand, if main thing to understand is you got to have a pipeline. You got to have a pipeline of customers in your business, and the pipeline of customers is going to lead to a pipeline of revenue. The only one of the main reasons. So when somebody asked me the other day, they asked me, do I have to be very passionate? Do I have to be passionate about freight dispatching or trucking to become a freight dispatcher? I said, no, you don't have to be, passionate about it to become it. And I told them that because I don't feel like I was just all the way passionate about freight dispatching or trucking, or even now. I'm not going to say I'm the most passionate person about trucking. I'm passionate about a pipeline. I like building businesses. I like manifesting goals. I like building money models. I like taking a business like freight dispatch. I'm a business person. I'm a capitalist. Is that what they call us? Right? I like seeing money work. I like seeing money flow. So I just figure out the whole system because I like to see that money flow and how it improves people's lives. Right? But again, so when I first came into dispatching, more so, I was wanting to use the power of the internet to build a pipeline system where I could continue to increase my revenue without doing all the work. That was my main goal. That's what made me love or fall in love with dispatching, because I seen that opportunity. So saying it's mainly about setting up those systems, those pipelines. Right. I see your comment, Cedric. I'll get with you on those three trucks, offline. I'll send you an email or something, or a DM. I'll see what's going on with you. See where maybe I can bring you on for some mentoring for those 3 trucks on the next live, but I'll reach out to you. All right. So you don't have to learn, you don't need to learn dispatching to perform it for your company. Now let's think about this way. For your company to perform dispatching, you don't have to learn dispatching as the founder, right? We need to kind of separate ourselves, from the founder and the dispatcher, right? The normal mindset would think, oh, I need to learn dispatching to perform it. But no, my company can perform dispatching without me learning dispatching. And then the whole thing too, most people are going to say learn dispatching, but you actually need to have the experience, right? Learning isn't going to be enough with as much that goes on within this industry. You're going to have the experience to actually help your owner operator. Step 6, build and leverage passive income. Now revenue is not tied to your time. Another great one, right? Isn't that what business is always supposed to be about? Revenue should not be tied to your time. Just like being an employee and getting paid hourly, right? Let's think about that too. That's something I would think about in the beginning. When I was just starting, I would think about, I am trying to get away from an hourly job. I am trying to get away from something that I actually have to be there doing all the work to make money. So why would I start a freight dispatch business and become the dispatcher? That doesn't make any sense. That's not building a business. And that's misalignment, because you're not going to be able to scale, right? What's going to happen for sure, let's say we got a couple of trucks, 4 trucks, and I'm the dispatcher dispatching all the trucks. But even before that, remember, I got to learn dispatching. I got to learn everything that it is to learn, become confident in it. And then still, I'm not going to have the real world experience. And then I'm going to try to dispatch a 53-foot flatbed. That just sounds like misalignment. So when we really break it down and think about it, it's misalignment. That's not the way to start a freight dispatch business in 2026 because it causes so many pain points. So just think about from the time somebody learns it, somehow get some real world experience if they're able to do that, but they're probably not going to really have any real world experience. And then they're going to attempt to dispatch a 53-foot flatbed or a 26-foot box truck or whatever without any experience. And then the owner operator most likely is coming from being a company driver where a lot of them think they're going to have a perfect trucking business because they've been a company driver for 10 years, but they, don't know anything about business or generating demand. That's just like a recipe for disaster. I'm saying that's what's currently going on in the industry right now, right? I just been in it so long that I'm able to tell. So it'd be better to hire a dispatcher. At the end of the day, it'd be better to hire. It'd be easier. It'd be faster to scale. Speed to revenue would be faster. Customer retention would improve. Everything would improve with having someone with real world experience, especially in this industry, where I like to think about it, it's not like we're setting up a lemonade stand on the corner, right? We're dealing with like 53-foot flatbeds, right? It's not a lemonade stand business. This is serious stuff going on. The old way, learn dispatching, perform operations, chase trucking companies, work more to earn more. Yeah, so you got to work more. So these are just basic business principles. You don't want to work more to earn more, right? Isn't that the whole reason for not wanting to be an employee, for wanting to start our own businesses? Because we want to work more and do less work, right? And then we want to have a system figured out to make more money and do less work. It's a great thing. It's great. And your income is not tied to time. How do we got now, right? Because our income is tied to time. Because we have to actually spend our time to make money, right? But we want to make money without having to use our time, right? That's the right way. All this is the old way, the right way. Build a value proposition, learn and grow business, attract inbound leads, scale with people and systems, income tied to structure, not time. And my program now is structure. It doesn't need me. We want to work ourselves out of the business, right? Don't we want to build our businesses so big that we could sell them one day if we wanted to, right? You can't scale a business without any structure. You can't sell a business that needs the owner to survive, because that's not a business. That's a job. That's a job. So what I started to realize in freight dispatching is that if I get about like 5 or 6 trucks and that's all the trucks I can dispatch, then my income is capped. But you don't want your business to have capped income. You want to hire dispatchers to work for you, and then you just focus on the leads. So now you got come on now, who's with me? Now you got an unlimited supply of leads and of drivers, so you get that working first, and then you have an unlimited supply. You start a pipeline of dispatchers. You get an unlimited supply of dispatchers coming into your business. So what does that mean now? So now we just created a perfect equation to have what? An unlimited supply of money. If you got an unlimited supply of leads coming in, you got an unlimited supply of dispatchers. So as you sign up more drivers, you can hire more dispatchers. That equals an unlimited supply of money, right? And that's how the law, becoming wealthy, works with the law of attraction, right? Because you want attraction just coming, you want value just coming into your business naturally. So if you get the pipeline of drivers coming in, and then you have a pipeline of dispatchers coming in, you have value just flowing naturally. See, now that's not a bottleneck. That's not a bottleneck. That's flow. That's just going to flow naturally, and you're going to be able to generate revenue at an increasing amount naturally. And where are you capped? You're never capped. It's unlimited. Let's get it. Talking real business, corporate level business. Got this one question here. Just starting out, what do you recommend for cold calling, owner operators, and direct shippers? What I recommend on that, well, what I was saying earlier in this video, what I really recommend is using cold callers. Like I said, it's 2026. Doing it the right way is utilizing people that have already made cold calls, maybe in some other industry like real estate, solar, roofing, maybe possibly in trucking. So instead of learning it yourself, you can pay a low cost to cold callers to cold call owner operators for you. So, like I said, the old way, you're learning all this yourself. Cold calling, learning the load boards, learning how to market the business, learning how to sell the business, learning how to deal with stressed out owner operators. Let me not even get to that point. After you do sign up drivers and stuff, a lot of them are going to be stressed out and putting it on us as the dispatcher. It's going to be so much. So in 2026, I would say use cold callers to cold call for your business. But if you want, also, you guys can join my free freight dispatcher community, and I do have cold calling in my free community. So that's what I would recommend if you plan on doing some cold calling yourself. Just enroll in my free freight dispatcher community, and I'll drop the link here in a second, and just go through my cold calling training. I have scripts in there and everything. So you can still go through that and try it out yourself. That's what I would recommend. I would recommend one of the most important things, set a KPI, key performance indicator. So basically, I would learn cold calling for a couple of days or however long that take. I wouldn't let it take a long time, but just for a short while. And then I would set a goal. I would be like, okay, I'm making 20 dials. I'm cold calling 20 people today. And I would do that for like an entire week. It probably would be more than 20. It maybe would be 50. I would just take 1 week and I say Monday through Friday, I'm making 50 cold calls each and every day. And then I'm going to observe results from there. You know, depending on what happens, I'll probably increase the KPIs, change what I'm saying. And then as I keep doing that week over week, I'm going to build a pipeline of drivers coming in through the cold calling. And then I'm going to use that money and I'm going to reinvest it into my business and pay for cold callers to do that. So I'll work myself out of doing that daily cold calling. Let's get it. But yeah, you can take the cold calling training in the community. So the right way, you build that UVP. I went over all this already, right? And plus it's on the screen, so let me not do that again. But that is the right way with a UVP. You want a unique value proposition from the very beginning of your business because you want to stand out. You want to generate interest. In any business, most people are not generating interest. I have another brand that the exact same thing that I help do for freight dispatching businesses, I help do for restaurants because restaurants struggle with the exact same problems freight dispatchers struggle with. Restaurant owners think, you know, they can open up a restaurant, you know, spend all that money on their location, you know, making upgrades to the building, renovating it, purchasing food and doing it, hiring employees. They do all that stuff before they generate any demand. And then they open up the business, open up the doors, and customers or diners trickle in. You know what I'm saying? They don't have a good pipeline of people coming in to dine there, to come into the restaurant. So many restaurants are struggling with this. And what I help restaurants do is increase their online visibility. You know, I have a couple of restaurants that I work with now that even before they open up their physical location, I already help them grow their online visibility. So as soon as on grand opening day, before grand opening day, I have them do a soft opening. We record video and then they run those ads of their soft opening in preparation for the grand opening. So on grand opening day, they have demand. They have customers out the door, right? So you got to get demand before you get overhead. The huge problem with anyone starting any business these days is like, so It's not different problems for different businesses. It's the state of consciousness or the mindset the majority of people are putting into different businesses. Now that's the real business talk right there. That's what I feel. So most people getting into any business, they aren't generating demand. They think about everything else it is to think about before they think about generating demand. No, it's an engine. The demand coming into your business is an engine. You start a business because you see an opportunity to build the engine. The lead generation is the engine of your business. What happens to most people? They spend all the fuel. They start spending cash on the business. They start burning fuel before they start creating demand, right? You want to create demand to fuel your business, right? You don't want to start spending your own money and before you create the engine of the business. It's pretty much common sense. Common sense. So you got to ask yourself, are you going to create overhead first, or are you going to create demand? Are you going to get some drivers interested in your business first, or are you going to do everything else? So the real secret in 2026 with a business like freight dispatching, where you don't have to collect a lot of overhead and equipment, what you want to do is learn. Think about this. This is the right way. If you just learn the marketing piece first, if you just learn how to market, if you learn how to just speak about the business. See, the main thing is most people don't know how to speak about their business, right? Especially for an extended amount of time, right? So you want to learn how to market and sell the business first. And after you learn how to market and sell the business, people will naturally come in. Right. Every driver has to come in through your marketing and sales department first. It's just so easy for, like I said, especially because I've mentored and trained hundreds of new business owners. I need to start putting that out there more. New business owners, right? Because I can tell from people that I trained and mentored, people never think about being a new business owner. I don't believe the majority of people think about, I'm a new business owner, right? They don't think about a lot of the pain points and issues that I'm going to have is because I've never done this before in any business, right? That's what we need to think about. And we need to develop business level skills, business skills, I'm still mentoring people. Honestly, I have to tell people, you can't say, I can't. I can't. You can't start a business and using can't. You know what I had to do to even get my freight dispatch business off the ground? I had to write down all these low vibrational words like I can't and cross them out and tell myself I'll never use them again. And anytime I started to use them, you got to correct yourself because you want to get on the frequency of what you want, right? Starting a business is about getting on the frequency of what you want. When you get on the frequency of what you want, you have the business, because once you get on that frequency, it's going to automatically start coming into existence. That's when you're going to start seeing it coming into your awareness, right? Let's go back. Let's start teaching real business. It's about getting on a frequency. Real business is you should be able to get on the frequency of what you want by the way you think and believe in yourself. And then through your awareness for yourself, you should start seeing everything, all the puzzle pieces matching together. That's how you know your business is in alignment. That's how you know it's working. Your text blasting carries is okay, but nothing's ever going to beat video marketing. Video marketing for any business. This is just the same thing. Like I said, we could be talking about real estate agents. Say real estate agents somehow have access to the phone number of leads, right? And they're text blasting, possible people that's wanting to sell or buy their house. That's fine, but the real estate agent is going to get more pipeline acceleration with video marketing, right? See, text messaging, you're not really able to explain what you offer in your text and your program. But video marketing, you can further explain your implementation program. You can tell your potential leads about pain points that you've seen before, that some of your previous customers had before. Video marketing for any business is going to do it every time. And as consciousness further expands, it's going to create an increased need for video marketing. Basically, as the future comes, if you're not on video marketing any business, you're not going to be getting any sales. And video marketing, it's like a 24/7 salesperson for you. You know, you can put out one video, and then over time, hundreds and thousands of people watch that one video and sign up with you. So the thing is, passive income. We get passive income from video marketing these days. That's where passive income comes. So the whole thing, and definitely for a freight dispatch business, sometimes we can have a lot of churn or overturn, you know, owner operators coming and going, because sometimes the failure rate for a new trucking company can be so high. So that's why as a freight dispatch business, you need good lead generation. You need good pipeline acceleration. And video marketing is going to do that for you, because sometimes, especially in the beginning, drivers are going to be coming and going sometimes fast. So guys, think about stuff too, like pipeline acceleration. Write that down for those of you on the live tonight, or if you're going to be watching a recorded version. I know it's hundreds and thousands of people out there that take notes on my videos, and I think that's great. So if you're one of those people, or you're one of my true viewers, those are my true viewers, the ones that take notes on my videos, the ones that tell me they take notes and they put them in the chat GPT. You're doing the right thing. You take notes on all of this the right way and put it in chat GPT to help you out. But for the ones that do that, make sure you write down pipeline acceleration. Put that in the chat GPT. How do I get pipeline acceleration in my freight dispatch business? Because like I say, it's not the dispatch agreement. It's not the LLC. It's not thinking about those words. Everybody thinks about those words. Everybody puts that frequency on their minds, right? But that frequency isn't high enough. We need to put a higher level frequency on our minds, higher level business words like pipeline acceleration. That's really what you want. You want pipeline acceleration, you know? Corporate level dispatching businesses. That's all I teach. That's all I help people to start. Nothing less. Because that's all that will work. So why would I teach anything less? This industry has evolved. Freight dispatching is no longer just a service. It's a business model built on leverage, positioning, and leadership. You can either become another overworked dispatcher or become the operator of a scalable logistics business. If you're starting today, don't just start by learning how to do the job. Start by building a system that runs the business. That decision determines everything. All right, if I can get my video back right, we will move forward. Don't know if I can. I'm about to end here soon, but maybe a couple of technical difficulties. This is how you have to handle things sometimes. I'll put that on the screen. Now that looks better. Since I can't get it to go off with, just put that on the screen. Got to do what you got to do in business. Got to be resourceful. But if you didn't take anything from this video, make sure you take that you have to have pipeline systems. You have to start your freight dispatch business using the law of attraction, meaning You need to have systems to attract value into your business. A freight dispatch business won't work without that. The most efficient way to launch and scale a freight dispatch business over time is to utilize the analytics, social media analytics. That's what I realized when I first started my freight dispatch business. Really, the reason I started this business is because I wanted to get off my full-time job. I wanted to make money for myself. I didn't want to be around coworkers. I didn't want to be around supervisors, right? I wanted to run my own business and make money for myself and be able to be with my family and loved ones more and travel, right? But what I wanted to do also is I wanted to be able to use social media analytics to generate revenue in my business. You know, I started to see how people were using social media and using analytics and be able to get predictable income. So if you measure the analytics in your freight dispatch business, you will be able to get your business to predictable driver signups. Because if you know you're getting a certain amount of video views every week, and that's going to naturally lead to you getting on a certain amount of sales calls. So this is the law of attraction. This is the law. Those video views is going to naturally lead to a certain amount of sales calls, which naturally lead to a certain amount of driver signups. And this is when you need to track the sales calls you're having with the signups, and this is the conversion rate. So when I only started thinking in this direction, like video views, sales calls, conversion rate, you know, driver signups, conversion rates, and revenue. Increasing leads, increasing my conversion rates is going to lead to an increase in signups and revenue, right? This could be in a number of different businesses, right? But I just start seeing an opportunity in freight dispatching and setting up that system, right? And that's how you really build a scalable corporate level freight dispatching business. And your business has to have this level of value in it to even make it in 2026. These are the people that implement this way, the right way, are the ones that's making it. But I thank everyone for being on this live tonight. Click the link in the description. I'll be putting the link for my free freight dispatching community. Be on the lookout too. I'll be doing a free 4-day workshop coming up soon with thousands of dollars worth of value, with successful members in my paid program that are generating passive income. You know, so I'm going to be bringing some proven results to that free 4-day workshop. I'll make sure it's worth thousands and thousands of dollars. So sign up for my free freight dispatching community. I'm going to be having that free 4-day workshop later on towards the end of this month. Be on the lookout for more information about that. If you're looking to get started quickly, the right way, the future way, if you're looking to know where freight dispatching businesses are headed in the future and already be implementing that into your business, go to freightdispatcherbootcamp.com and apply for my program. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a blessed evening, and I'll see you.